Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Just Trying to Survive and Learn to Love Along the Way. This will be Part 7, Chapters 12 and 13. Chapter 12 of Sleep and Recovery. Shouta wakes up again a few hours later to a light touch on his shoulder and blinks blearily up at his husband. "Everything all right, Sho? I got worried when you didn't come back to bed." Shouta doesn't answer him, just frowns down to where Izuku is, and is surprised to find out how much he moves in his sleep. He has moved from being flat on his back to curled up on his side, facing the back of the couch. His head is pillowed on Shota's thigh, and he's got his arms wrapped around his middle. Shouta can feel where his hands are fisted on the back of his shirt. He smiles a little at the sight, wishing he could capture the moment. Hisashi, ever the mind reader, speaks up again. "I already took about 1,000,000 pictures. Now what's going on?" "He had a nightmare, and I found him on the floor. Some of his stitches popped, and it looks like he may be getting an infection. I plan on taking him to Recovery Girl before class." "Poor kid. You should get ready soon if you want to have enough time for her. You know how much she likes to talk." Zashi shoots him a wink and stands, heading back to their room. Shouta somehow manages to extract himself from the kid without waking him, and changes quickly into his hero costume before downing a mug of coffee. He stops by Izuku's room to grab his sweater and backpack before returning to the living room, where Izuku is still curled up. It takes a few tries to wake him, but soon his eyes are sluggishly opening, and he's pushing himself into a seated position. "Put this on. We're heading out a bit early today." "What about my uniform?" The sentence is barely comprehensible, and Hisashi silently laughs from where he's standing behind the couch. "Don't worry about it, kid. It's not worth it today." Izuku manages to get the sweater over his head and tries to grab the matching yellow backpack, but Hisashi grabs it before he can. He lets out a little whine, but follows them out the door and to the car without a word. He nearly falls asleep on the way to UA, and they don't even make it through the parking lot before Shouta loses his patience. He walks back to the problem child and turns around in front of him before crouching down. "Get on." But Shouta, I can walk." "We won't make it inside by lunch if I let you walk." Izuku sputters behind him, but still wraps his arms around his neck and climbs on his back. Shouta stands and tucks his arms under the kid's legs, not nearly as off balance as he thought he would be at the extra weight. "Jesus, kid, you are way too light." "It's not my fault." It's said so quietly that Shouta almost doesn't hear it. He can feel Izuku nuzzling his warm face into the back of his neck as they walk, and he can feel every puff of air that leaves the kid's mouth. He can see Hisashi laughing out of the corner of his eye, and turns his head just in time to catch him taking another picture. They pass by far too many heroes on their journey, and he knows the entire staff will hear about this by the time classes start. It doesn't take long to reach the infirmary carrying Izuku, and Recovery Girl simply sighs when she catches sight of them, and gestures towards the nearest bed. Shouta is careful as he puts the problem child down, and Izuku releases the death grip he had around his neck. He turns around and pulls up the right sleeve of Izuku's sweater before speaking. "I think his arm's getting infected. He woke up with a fever last night." He carefully doesn't mention the nightmare, and Izuku gives him a grateful look. Recovery Girl doesn't say anything, just pushes him aside and unravels the bandage. "It most certainly is. These stitches were done poorly, They'll let anyone with a healing quirk be a doctor nowadays. Looks like you at least did a good job cleaning it. She cleans his arm again before rewrapping it and turning to her desk to pull out some pills and hand them to Izuku. These should help with the fever. They may make him more tired, though, so I hope you're fine with him passing out in your class, Shouta. Of course. There's one other thing we wanted to talk to you about. We believe he's got undiagnosed selective mutism. He has trouble speaking under specific circumstances and described it as his throat locking up and preventing him from talking. Well, it sounds like you're right, Shouta. I'll add it to his file. I suggest you let him rest in the teacher's lounge for the remainder of time before class begins. She walks into her office and closes the door, dismissing them. Well, Hizashi, I think it's your turn. My turn to what? His husband looks a little scared at that. Shouta just gestures to the problem child. You get to carry him this time. Hizashi doesn't even answer, just hands Shouta the speaker to free up his neck and walks over to the bed to get the kid onto his back in the same fashion that Shouta did earlier. They walk in silence for a few minutes until Izuku decides to speak up, voice muffled by Zashi's jacket. Hey, Zashi? He sounds so tired, and it's surprising he hasn't fallen back asleep yet. Yeah, kid? What's this chain around your neck? Notice Shouta has one too. His words are slightly slurred, but they both get the point. Shota's almost surprised the kid even noticed them. Almost. Why don't you pull it out and see? Hizashi's got the hint of a smile on his face, eager to see Izuku's reaction. He doesn't know why. The kid already knows they're married. Izuku tugs on the chain eagerly, pulling the chain out from where it's tucked into Zashi's shirt. Izuku smiles at the simple ring he finds. Wedding ring. Shouta bets the kid knew already. Izuku sounds more awake now, becoming more comprehensible with his interest. Hizashi nods in place of replying. Why don't you wear it on your hand? We don't want to risk breaking them, and it's nice to have something for ourselves that the world doesn't know about. Hizashi is smiling as he says this, and Izuku nods in reply, tucking his face closer to Zashi's neck. It's cute, and Shouta knows that he'll be a dead man if he doesn't capture the moment, so he does. Zashi is obsessed with pictures. They don't see a single person until they enter the teacher's lounge, and the only person in there is Ectoplasm, grumbling about some math problem. He doesn't even look up as they enter, just mutters a greeting and refocuses on his work. Shouta sinks down onto one of the couches and Hizashi crouches in front of it, intent on putting Izuku beside him. He manages to get him on the couch and makes to stand up, but the kid's arms are locked around his neck. Shouta huffs a laugh before leaning forward to help his husband. He stands when he's freed, and Izuku immediately curls toward the next source of body heat, which happens to be Shouta. He glances down at the kid and finds him in almost the same position they woke up in this morning. Wow, Zashi. I think he's almost as clingy as you when you sleep. Hey, I don't cling. Shouta just raises his brow, and Hizashi blushes before looking away. 20 minutes later finds Shouta working through his marking once again, one hand settled in Izuku's curls. A knock on the door makes him look up, but Zashi is already moving from his place on Izuku's other side to go answer it. A mumbled conversation later, and Hizashi is moving back into the teacher's lounge, heading toward his desk. He's accompanied by a lighter set of footsteps that freeze when they pass in front of the couch. Yes, Shinszo. Did you need something from me? No. Shouta looks up at the hesitance in his voice and finds the kid staring at Izuku, brows creased in concern. He raises a brow, daring Shinszo to say something. He doesn't even look at Shouta, instead keeping his eyes on his kid. He's just like a cat. Shouta fixes a glare on Shinszo and he flinches, backing up a few paces. It looks like he wants to say something else, but before he can, Zashi returns to his side with papers clutched in his hand. "Here's your missing work, listener. Better get a move on. It's due in a few hours." Shinszo gets a panicked look on his face at that and scurries out of the teacher's lounge, barely sparing a glance behind him. Shouta wants to leave for class a few minutes earlier than usual, so he starts waking Izuku up a few minutes after Shinszo leaves. It's not all that hard, and once he realizes the position he's in, he jolts up and away from him, bashing right into Zashi, who was back in his place on the couch. Izuku stammers out a quiet apology, face a deep crimson. Shouta just smirks while Hisashi laughs at the kid's embarrassment. He ends up practically dragging Izuku behind him on the trek to the classroom. He lightly pushes him into the room ahead of him and heads for his own desk, wanting to catch a quick nap before class starts, and he has to deal with the little demons all day. He makes sure Izuku gets to his desk before closing his eyes, settling down in his sleeping bag. Chapter 13 of High School and Drama. Shinszo's first day in the hero course does not go as expected. He and Midoriya have spoken a few times over the weekend since the sports festival, and he's excited to finally be in class with his friend. It's his first time having a real one. He got concerned when Midoriya stopped answering his texts on Sunday, and now his friend is nowhere to be seen in class. He catches a few of his new classmates casting worried glances towards Midoriya's desk, so that means that no one knows where he is. Right when he's expecting Aizawa-sensei to walk into the classroom, Snipe does instead. "Snipe-sensei? Where's Aizawa-sensei? Does it have to do with Deku-kun?" Shinszo thinks that's Uraraka speaking. "Eraserhead will not be coming in today. As for Midoriya, don't worry about it." He doesn't give her a chance to answer before beginning class. Shinszo can tell when he's annoyed because every time he is, his hand drifts towards his gun before he stops himself. Shinszo is relieved when Present Mike walks into their classroom. He doesn't want any more unpleasant surprises, and he actually likes the pro hero. He's glad he still gets to learn English from him, instead of being taught by a completely new set of teachers. He's been taught by the pro since the beginning of the year, so he's genuinely surprised when his phone rings, and the man actually answers it. "Sho, what's up? The little listener done his interview with Tsukauchi?" Shinszo eavesdrops with the rest of the class, not even trying to pretend he's not like some of them are. Present Mike's face tightens with worry, before he speaks again. "Shit, is everything okay? What happened to my listener?" His listener? Who in the world could that be? "I'm on my way. I just have to get midnight to cover my next class. I'll be no longer than 15 minutes. Their teacher is leaving. Any sense of normalcy Shinszo was beginning to feel is gone now. "All right, class, I've got to go. Ida, I need you to go to the teacher's lounge and get midnight to cover the rest of this class." Present Mike doesn't give anyone a chance to reply as he's leaving. Nobody misses the concerned glance he throws at Midoriya's seat. Tuesday comes, and Shinszo is worried that Midoriya won't show again. It's not until the last minute that he does, stumbling into the room right in front of their teacher. His friend has a dark bruise on his cheek and a wrapped-up arm, and his face pales even further when their classmates start asking him a ton of questions. The day passes mostly the way he had expected his first day to. It's concerning how pushy Midoriya's friends are being about the origin of his injuries, when it's clear he doesn't want to talk about it. Finding him sitting out of hero studies and wearing Present Mike's headphones is just the icing on the cake. Something very strange is going on here. He may have to refer to their resident conspiracy theorist. It's on Wednesday that Shinszo thinks he might get some answers. He's at school early, as per usual, but needs to make a stop at the teacher's lounge in hopes that Present Mike is there. He may have misplaced some homework that's due today. He knocks softly at the door and is relieved when the hero he's looking for opens it. "Mike-sensei, I lost Monday's homework, and I'm wondering if you have any more copies." "Sure thing, listener. Come on in while I find the right stuff." Present Mike's voice is quieter than it usually is. Maybe it's because of how early it is. He follows Mike-sensei into the room and towards his desk, but he freezes at the sight on the couch. Aizawa-sensei is there, grading work. But that's not the surprising part. What's surprising is the hand he's got in Midoriya's hair. Midoriya, who is curled up on his side, with his head on their teacher's thigh. What the fuck? "Yes, Shinszo. Did you need something from me?" No." He avoids looking at his teacher and keeps staring at Midoriya. He's just like a cat. Shinszo does look up then, and his teacher looks absolutely terrifying, and he's staring right at him. Shinszo stumbles back a few paces, immediately regretting his comment. He goes to say something, anything, before Present Mike returns and saves him. "Here's your missing work, listener. Better get a move on. It's due in a few hours." Shinszo runs at that, needing to escape the teacher's lounge as quickly as possible. Shinszo is not surprised that he's still the first one to homeroom, even with the pit stop at the teacher's lounge. What does surprise him is when Midoriya stumbles in with Aizawa-sensei a few minutes later, wearing a bright sweater that is not part of the uniform and that he definitely did not take note of when Midoriya was curled up like a cat on their teacher. He looks absolutely terrible. Aizawa-sensei spares Shinszo a glance, and he shrinks a little in his seat as the man slips into his sleeping bag, returning his look to Midoriya. Shinszo speaks when Midoriya is close enough to hear his quiet voice. "Midoriya, are you okay?" Instead of replying verbally, he raises shaking hands and signs. "Had a bad night." "Are you sick?" "It's just a fever. I'll be fine." "Just a fever? Why is he even at school?" Midoriya guesses his question before he can ask it. "I can't be home alone, so I came to school where Tired Cat and Loud Cat can keep an eye on me." "Tired Cat and Loud Cat? Who are they?" Midoriya frowns before fingerspelling. "Aizawa and Mike-sensei." Well, he should have guessed that. It's painfully obvious now that he knows. The real question is, why does Midoriya have sign names like that for their teachers? Ida barges into the room before he can ask and veers straight for them. "Midoriya, that is not a school-approved uniform. You should go change at once. I'm sure Aizawa-sensei will not approve." "I don't care. Tired Cat is the one who told me to wear this." That startles a laugh out of Shinszo, and Midoriya gives him a small smile while Ida just looks confused. "Midoriya, I clearly don't understand what you are saying, so I ask that you use your words." Ida is doing these odd chopping motions as he speaks, so Shinszo decides to annoy him even further. "Engines sure looks annoyed. How long do you think it will take before he sicks Tired Cat on us?" That gets a loud laugh out of Midoriya, and even he looks surprised at that. Ida looks like he is about to complain again when Bakugo shoves the door open, frowning at the group behind his desk. Midoriya shrinks back from him as he draws near, and Bakugo rolls his eyes as he takes his seat. Shinszo notices Aizawa-sensei watching the interaction, but doesn't say anything. Midoriya, if you do not have a uniform, I have a spare shirt in my locker. We have enough time to grab it before class starts. Can you make him go away? Words are hard today. Izuku isn't looking at him as he signs, but glances at his hands when he taps the desk. Sure thing, baby cat. Izuku looks to his face at the sign name, eyes wide and confused. If Aizawa and Mike are Tired Cat and Loud Cat, then you are Baby Cat. Izuku nods and ducks his head, a light blush coating his cheeks. Ida, Midoriya says that Sensei is fine with a sweatshirt. Can we drop this now? Surely Sensei wouldn't be okay with this. This is a direct violation of the dress code, and even you should know by now that he's a stickler for rules. Ida. And that's Aizawa-sensei, rising from his sleeping bag. Sensei, I'm so sorry about Midoriya, sir. I was just about to make him change. Take your seat, Ida. Shinszo doesn't think he's ever seen someone move so fast without using a quirk. Pretty soon after that, the rest of the class is joining them, many stopping to gawk at Midoriya as they enter. They shut their mouths pretty quickly when they notice the look Shinszo gives them. Aizawa-sensei then pulls a move nobody would expect from him. He puts on a movie. It's still an educational one, something about the history of quirks, and the class is assigned an essay for after the movie. But Shinszo is too busy watching Midoriya fall asleep to care. Sensei then pulls another move nobody expects. Instead of curling up in his sleeping bag, he sits, wide awake, and watches the class. Mostly Midoriya. Shinszo catches his eye on one of his glances around and takes a risk. Is Baby Cat okay? His teacher raises a brow at the name, but answers nonetheless. He'll be fine. I'll make sure of it. Reassured, Shinszo returns his gaze to Midoriya. Still sound asleep. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 13 of Just Trying to Survive and Learn to Love Along the Way. Chapter 14 will be up next, which will continue us on with this fic. I just love these couple chapters. I'd love to hear your reactions as well in the comments below, because some of my favorite parts, we get a POV from Shinszo, which is great. We get to see the first couple days of Class 1A that he enters and how some of these events unfolded from a student perspective, especially someone who is friends with Midoriya and their friendship taking off. And how he saw certain little things, right? Like the teacher's lounge and seeing Midoriya curled up there on the couch with Aizawa asleep. And also how he is now kind of tying things together, the relationship with Aizawa and Midoriya and Hisashi, asking him questions through signs. So there's a lot of great elements unfolding here in this fic. So I'd love to hear what you all think. Just a reminder, the fic is located on AO3, so if you have an opportunity, you can always slide over, leave comments, kudos, and support to the original author. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.